Greetings and salutations, Visigoth here, and today I'm going to be doing another build for one of my guildies. This build is a group-oriented sorcerer. So he's the group healer, but he's also got some solo questing ability, so he can still do content. Now, let's show you the first bar. On my first bar, I'm using a destruction staff, and it's actually a lightning staff that tends to tie into all of the passive and the skills that go with this. But as you can see, on bar 1 at slot 1, I'm using Shattering Prison, then Force Pulse, then Endless Fury, then Bound Aegis, and Inner Light, and the ultimate is Shooting Star. Now on bar 2, I have a Restoration Staff, because honestly, that's how you're going to heal. So on slot 1, I'm using Rapid Regeneration, Healing Springs, Healing Ward, and then Bound Aegis and Inner Light again. And this time I'm actually running Energy Overload. Now, because of the way Energy Overload works, you actually get a third bar. So let me go ahead and swap to that. And then I can show you the skills that I have on the third bar. Now I'm on the third bar. So on the third bar at slot 1, I have Power Surge, then Dark Conversions, or Conversion, and Thundering Presence. And of course, again, I have Bound Aegis and Inner Light. And of course, the ultimate is still Energy Overload, because this is what allows us to have a third bar. So now, let's swap back to our normal bar. And I just do that by turning off the ultimate. It's a toggle skill. So literally, you can see down here, I have enough ultimate points that I can use the ultimate, and it only costs 64 ultimate, so it's actually really low cost. But all I have to do is activate that. So let's activate it. So I activate it by pressing, mine happens to be the 5 key. And then you notice the weapon disappears, and now the character has lightning around his arms and upper torso. Well, that's to let you know that you're in the third bar. And if you actually light attack, you notice he shoots out these little orbs from each hand, and it actually uses up ultimate points. So once you run out of ultimate points, it kicks you out of this third bar back to the second bar, which is what you're on. You can also hold down the attack and do this lightning, like Emperor Palpatine or Sith Lord. And both of those attacks will actually regen magicka, plus they do a good bit of damage. The single attack does 7,000 damage or something like that. Here, let's look. Yeah, it does 7,869 just single attacking. Oh, looks like I'm out of ultimate, so I'm still in this bar, but I can't actually cast anything. So I guess it doesn't automatically kick you back. That's interesting. So then let's turn off the ultimate. Now, yeah, now you notice it's no longer lit up because I used up all the ultimate that I had. Anyways, let's go back to the passive skills. Now under Dark Magic, I take all the passes. Under Daedric Summoning, I take both Power Stone and Daedric Protection. Under Storm Calling, I take all of the passes. Under Weapon, Destruction Staff, I take all of the passes. Under Restoration Staff, I take all of the passes. Under Armor, I take all of the passes for Light Armor. And now this build is actually running 5 Light and 2 Heavy to have a little bit more survivability. Now under the Heavy Armor passives, I take all of them except for Bracing, because Bracing requires you to have 5 pieces. Under World, Soul Magic, I take Soul Summons and Soul Lock, all of the ranks that you can get. Now this build actually works with Werewolf. So under Werewolf, I only take Blood Moon. That way if you want to turn one of your other friends or another guild member into a werewolf, you can do that. And I'll show you later how this actually ties into stamina. By being a werewolf, by default, you naturally just get 15% stamina regeneration, while in combat. So I mean, that's nice. Let's go back to passes. Under Guild, I take Intimidating Presence, all of the Slayer, and all of the Banish the Wicked. Under Mage's Guild, I take all of the passes. Undaunted, if you finally unlock these, which it was going to take a while, I take Undaunted Command and Undaunted Metal. I don't take any under Alliance War, and I don't take any under Support. But if you wanted to, while you're questing, you could take Rapid Maneuvers just to make you faster. You know, I'd put it on the second bar and maybe replace Rapid Regeneration. Now, I usually like to run it on my number 1. Alright, for racial, you're going to take all your racials. And for craft, I tend to take either Gourmand or Connoisseur, depending on which food buff I'm running. You don't have to worry about any other ones unless you're crafting them. So for champion points, I'm going to try and stick with 45 points. It's just a good number to a good short goal, or a short-term, mid-term goal. Starting out, it's going to take you a while to get champion points. Once you get used to collecting them and you start getting into like a grind mode, you start picking them up faster, but 45 is a good number. So let's start with the tower. Now you can see basically I've pumped all 45 into Magician. Reduces the magicka cost of spells by 9.8%. Honestly, this is just too strong right now to really kind of do anything else. I mean, you could spread your points out, because it's true, the more points you put in, the more diminishing returns you get, but I don't know, I really like reduction of cost for stamina and magicka. So for this build, we're going to go with Magician. Now that's it for the Thief line. Let's go into the Mage line. Now again, I'm sticking with 45 points and I'm putting them all into the Apprentice, but they're much more spread out. Basically, I'm going to put 10 points in Blessed, increases the effectiveness of any healing you initiate by 5%. That 5% increase to your healing is nice, because not only can you heal yourself while you're souling, but it's also going to increase when you do group healing. Now, Elfborn is really nice too. Increases your spell critical damage and healing by 5%. So not only does this up your solo damage, it also ups the healing that you do in group. So it's a nice, well-rounded stat. Let's say the next one is Elemental Expert. Increases your Flame, Frost, and Shock damage. Well, all of the damage that you're doing is basically shock damage with this build. So that 6.6% increase to damage is really nice to have. Now, Spell Erosion increases the amount of spell resistance your spells ignore by 5%. That just means that, you know, you'll do more damage because you're negating the armor of the target you're shooting. So you can see, you know, this is kind of spread out. You could literally put, like, you know, 2 points into here, and then 1, 1, and 1, and then just keep kind of doing that. But basically, you can see I've got 15, 10, 10, and 10. Now, that's it for the Mage. Now let's go into the Warrior. Now you can see they're all in the Lady. So let's go to the Lady. This is a little less spread out, but still pretty spread out. As you can see, I've got the most points in Light Armor Focus. This is just a nice little buff for your armor. The fact that you wear 5 pieces of light, you know, it's kind of nice to just bump that up a little bit. And there's really not much else that I'd want to socket those points into, other than the ones that I have here. Hardy's pretty nice. Reduces poison, disease, and magic damage by 5%. Well, you know, that covers a pretty broad spectrum, so it's nice to have that reduction. Elemental Defender covers the other side of that spectrum. Reduces flame, frost, and shock damage dealt to you by 5%. So both of these are 5%, and it gives you a nice little spread across different damage mitigations. And Thick Skin is pretty good too. Reduces the damage you take from damage over time effects by 3.8%. Well, you know, any dot is now going to do a little bit less damage. It's just kind of nice to have. That's pretty much it. It's kind of spread out and a little more complex than most of my other builds, but it's still pretty straightforward, and it's a good starting place. You can always switch things around and mess with things. Like, you might think, oh, I'm doing magic damage, so I should put points into Thaumaturge. Well, you're not actually doing lots of magic damage. You're mainly doing lots of shock damage. So instead, Elemental Expert is going to give you more bang for your buck. So now that I've given a brief description of you know, what the skills are, I'm going to show you kind of how I'm using them. Basically, I'm going to, I like to come out here to Craglorn and kill these mobs by myself as kind of a test of how things are going to work. But basically, I'm going to shoot them with my staff, and then I'm going to freeze them in place, you know, or hold them in place with the shards, and then I'm going to shoot them with Force Pulse to do a good bit of damage. and once the shards explodes and does damage to them, I'll reapply it. And basically when they start getting low to health, I'll try to spam Endless Fury, you know, once or twice. Sometimes you have to do it more than once or twice. But let's make sure that I apply my Bound Aegis. So, well, I gotta lock the cursor. There we go. Now apply Bound Aegis. And now I noticed that when I apply Mage Light, sometimes it gives me a little ball. That time it didn't, which was kind of lucky. Now you notice when I switch bars, it stays on. So that's kind of nice. But let's go ahead and try this out. Zap these guys, just regular attacks. Kind of pull them together. They're beating on me, so I'm taking damage. Now I'll freeze them in place, and I'll actually get away from them. And you can see they're frozen. I'm getting a little bit of lag because I'm recording. So I'll pop them with my, what's that called? Force Pulse. Now you notice that exploded and did some damage to them. So I'll pop them with Force Pulse a couple more times, shoot a couple guys, freeze them again, keep shooting them. That guy's getting pretty low in health. So I'll drop, what's that called? Endless Fury. I notice they're all kind of getting low in health, so I'll drop Endless Fury a couple times. Of course you can see I'm getting low in health too. So I'm going to go ahead and switch to my main bar, and I'm going to heal. I'm just going to throw this down, I'll just let me stand into it. And of course, Sorcerer is not what I'm used to playing, so I'm a little slow. But you can see, I mean, even me, I'm not having too much trouble soloing these guys. And I mean, I never play Sorcerer, so this is very clunky for me to play. I'm used to charging in and doing melee damage. Let's get a little more comfortable with this. Go kill another group before I take on that world boss over there. So shoot these guys a couple times. Now I'm not going to worry about naming the skills. You've seen the skills, and I honestly don't remember their names. And you'll notice that the shards, when you freeze them in place, it goes in a wave in front of you. So you have to watch out for that. If you do it like facing over this way, you might only catch a few of them. Or, you know, you can always cast it more than once. That's what's nice about it. Oh, I should have cast that. I'm still getting used to this a little bit. Hit them with a couple rays. Oh, you see it jumped between them? That was kind of cool. Pop that a couple times. Maybe I can kill this guy. Yeah. Regenerating a little bit of magic when I do that. It's kind of fun. This is definitely something like most builds, you'd have to kind of get used to it. It'd take a little bit of playing. But you can see once you get it down, it's pretty strong. And it actually generates quite a bit of ultimate. So you can actually fire off Shooting Star, you know, maybe once every other fight, which is kind of cool. But now that I've got Shooting Star charged, I'm going to go ahead and go over here and use it on the world boss. So let's just shoot a couple of these guys, get this started. Put down shards because they're getting close to me so I can freeze them in place. Shoot them a couple more times. Of course, it's going to break pretty soon, probably. Explode, do damage to them. Now, place it down again so they're frozen in place. Keep shooting with my staff. Now, I could be casting the #1 skill, but I'm still getting used to this. So let's see. See how it's jumping between them? That's kind of cool. Now I'll spam... Oh, I freeze in place again. Now I'll spam the #3 skill. Get back a little bit more magic when I kill these guys. And now that it's just the boss. So now I'll just kind of focus on zapping the boss down. Don't forget to use my #2 skill a couple times. Oh, I should call down... I forgot to call down the ultimate. There we go. It's kind of fun. I could use that. And if I want to, I can actually freeze him in place, switch to my second bar, and then drop a healing down. Not that I really need it right now, because honestly, I'm keeping him at a distance. Now, you can definitely, if you were running a pure DPS Sorcerer build, you could definitely kill this stuff faster. But the nice thing is that I can still do this content by myself. So in other words, it's a little slower, but I'm able to still do it. It's not like it's impossible to do. And yet I still have an extremely strong secondary bar for healing in groups. So, I mean, would have to give up the functionality of your second bar to be able to really up your damage with something like this. But you see I've got my ultimate charged. So now I can actually switch to my... accidentally cast that off. Switch to my third bar and cast Lightning Form, just to say I wanted to. And also cast my buff that will increase my spell damage. And now I should switch back to my bar and freeze him because I'm taking a lot of damage while I'm trying to talk about this. Okay, so now he's frozen in place. Now I actually have some pretty good damage buffs on me. Because I fired off that #1 skill, which actually increases my spell damage and spell crit. It's actually kind of powerful. It's a little slow, but think about it, I'm wearing all light armor, and yet I'm still able to do this because of the shards. It's kind of cool. And this is good on single target, but it's also good on multiple targets. That's what's kind of fun about it. I'm just trying to think of what I should fire off. Let's see, spam this a couple times. And as long as you're keeping on top of your healing, like keeping your HOTs applied and your area heals, it's not too difficult to switch bars and do something. It just, you know, it takes a little bit of practice. Oh, I should have spammed the lightning. Didn't even think about that. I'm just not used to playing like this. But as you can see, like say I'm just going to cast a heal, but say you also are running out of magic because you've been spam casting something, which I mean you see it's actually going to take me quite a bit, and I haven't even popped my food buff on. Alright, so spam healing, come on. I'm trying to run out of magicka. It's kind of hard because I'm not in combat, so I'm actually getting my out of combat regen. I always get a kick out of it when people show videos like, oh look what I can do. It's like, yeah, but you're not in combat, so you have like 4 times as much regen than you would if you're in combat. Alright, so now that I'm out, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to regain magic. So you just fire off your ultimate, and then do #2, and boom. There, look at how fast that's regenerating. I mean, now granted it is faster than it would be in combat, but still it gives you an idea to show you how that works. What's cool is you can cast as many times as you want to, as long as you have stamina. And that is Dark Conversion. Bargain with Darkness to restore 2,292 health and 2,952, that's a lot of magicka, at the expense of 1,460 stamina per second. That's pretty good. And that's why this is nice to have as a werewolf, because the more stamina that you can regen, the more you can then turn around and turn into health and magicka. And of course, say you're in combat and you're healing your group and you have to switch to this bar. Well, while you're trying to do something like this, what's it called again? I always forget the name. Dark Conversion. You know, you're like, oh crap, well, you're just standing there and you can't do anything, you're just regenning magicka. Well, before you pop that, I would pop the lightning form and then do it. That way you'll take less damage, even if you are getting hit while you're still trying to regen your magicka, which is kind of nice. And of course, I accidentally turned off my, what is that called? Bound Aegis, so I need to reapply that. There we go. I accidentally turned that off in combat earlier. But I mean, you can see, you know, this isn't too bad. You know, and when you want to switch back to your normal bar, now of course, I'm using this basically for a third bar or an alternate second bar. So while you're in a group and you're healing, you would just switch between your bar 2 and your bar 3 and do things. You wouldn't necessarily go back to bar 1. I mean, you could if you wanted to, but you know, in a group situation where you're actually having to heal and stuff, swapping between bars to do DPS sometimes can be a bit of a hassle. And I mean, unless it's an easy dungeon and no one's really like taking massive amounts of damage. But like I was going to show you is you could go into this and then just shoot some guys. It still does damage. Like here, watch, I'll show you. This does some pretty good damage too. Look at that. Boom, 2 hits. He's dead. Okay, that one take a little bit more. 3. Let's do a heavy attack. Look at him, shooting all of them. Now I'm taking a crap load of damage, so I should put the lightning form on. But I mean, you can see it still does a shit ton of damage. Even though I'm using it as a third bar, so you get more functionality, so you can pop off your what's this called? I always forget these things. Your power surge to get that weapon and spell damage, that 20% increase. That's pretty good. And then, you know, to be able to siphon off stamina to regen magicka. And then, you know, Thundering Presence just, I mean, I'm using it as like an ultimate, or not ultimate, but a utility bar. But it still itself does a bunch of damage. So, I mean, it's just win-win all around. And I still have enough ultimate that I could cast off Meteor. I could flip back to my main bar. Let's go shoot something with Meteor. There we go. Shoot these guys a couple times. I mean, you can really see once you get comfortable with this, it can be really powerful. I'm just not a spellcaster, so it's really awkward for me. It'd kind of be like taking someone that has only ever played a sorcerer and be like, hey, play a tank now. You'd be like, what? What am I supposed to do? But here, let's go shoot some more stuff. It's actually really fun once you get the hang of it. Let me see if I still have enough ultimate. Look at that. I've got enough ultimate, so I can just lightning crap. Oh. Oh, I should switch back before I die. I could do some healing because I was on the long damn bar. Alright, now they're frozen. Okay, there we go. It's definitely a little more complicated than my normal builds, but it's really strong. Alright, well, hopefully I showed you enough so that you can kind of understand where this build is coming from. And links for the build will be in the description below. And at a later point, I'll put together the gear that I think would run really well with this build and how I like the stats and stuff distributed. Oh, that's one thing I should show you. And as you can see here, I'm VR 14, and I've got 25 points in health and 37 points in magicka. And that sets me up pretty good. I've got 26,680 magicka, 19,153 health, 12,168 maximum stamina, and magic recovery's pretty good too. It's 1,340, and I'm not running a food buff, so I mean, oh wait, there we go. I've got a increased primary stats. I forgot that was still applied. So that's the food buff. I'm not running like a magicka recovery, you know, like a drink or anything. So this is just default recovery. Oh, and the Mundus stone I'm running is the Atronach. This was a little shotgun spread for you. As you can see, my spell crit's 48.3. That's not bad. Now, spell damage is a little low. I can get that up with gear sets, but it's not too bad. 1,523. But anyways, links for the gear and all of that will be in the description below. I hope you found this video useful. Alright, thanks. Bye.